Thank you so much for joining us for this breaking news coverage. In just a few minutes, the Orangeburg Sheriff's Office is going to hold a news conference with an update on the fatal crash involving Highway Patrol Trooper Dennis Ricks. Now, this happened in the early morning hours of August 10th, that accident. We're going to go ahead and take you live to them right now.
Everybody ready? Okay, good morning again. Today I want to give you a brief update on an incident that occurred that involved Trooper Dennis Ricks. First of all, I want to take a moment to thank some people that helped with this case, that helped investigate this case, assisted in a lot of different ways. I want to thank, first of all, Sheriff Kuhn from Lexington County Sheriff's Office and his traffic team for putting in so many hours, hard days and nights investigating this case, reconstructing the scene. So to Sheriff Kuhn and his team, thank you so much. I want to thank the Solicitor's Office, Beth Miles, the Assistant Solicitor, for her guidance and in this case. Also want to thank Bowman Police Fire Department for being one of the first responders on the scene. Orangeburg County EMS, all first responders. I want to acknowledge the dispatchers that was on call that night because it was a difficult thing to dispatch to and from. So I want to thank the dispatchers for that night. I want to also thank the South Carolina Highway Patrol for their initial response to this scene where their brother was down. From my team here at the Sheriff's Office, I want to thank Sergeant Redmond, Deputy Logan, and big thanks to Investigator Parham for investigating this case. To Ms. Ricks, we want to say to you, we can only imagine the difficult times, hard times that it's been thus far for you. But we want to say, I want to say personally to you and professionally to you, thank you for your patience, you and your family, for giving us an opportunity to do a thorough investigation in this incident. Now I know the media well, so I answer a couple of questions that you didn't ask. Why did it take so long? Number one, why did it take 18 days to decide to charge? Why did it take 19 days to present it to a judge, and why did it take 20 days to do this update? Simply this, we wanted to make sure we had it right. And I stand here before you this morning without a shadow of a doubt to let you know that we got it right. So I know in some people's mind it was thinking about what is going to happen, you know, after that incident and up until this point. Ms. Ricks, Colonel Williamson, Captain Elliott, Troop 7. What I want you to know also is that Trooper First Class Dennis Ricks did everything right that night. There's no doubt in my mind. He did everything that he was supposed to do that night. During that traffic stop, August the 10th, about 2:01 a.m. in the morning, this on I-26 East, and mile marker 166 near Bowman, South Carolina, where that traffic stop occurred. And again, Trooper Ricks did everything right that night. I could also tell you this morning without a shadow of a doubt that Anthony Adelet did everything wrong. There's no doubt he did everything wrong. Number one thing that he did wrong that day was got into a vehicle, a motor vehicle, and started on the highway. He should have not been driving a motor vehicle in the state of South Carolina. He was under suspension, his reckless disregard for others. It proven that, but I'll go back to a 10-year history of Mr. Adderley. So far, I've counted in 10-year history 7 suspensions, 6 accidents, 4 which he caused, and 2 other traffic violations and more. His statements given to law enforcement the night of and up until the day before yesterday, in fact, was blatantly lies. He finally came around and changed his statement and admit to Investigator Parham the same things that we already knew. One of the things that bothered me more than anything is the statement that he made that Trooper Ricks was in the highway. We know that to be untrue, but just in case, if it was true, like I said, Trooper Ricks did everything right that night. He went above and beyond. If it was true, when Trooper Ricks exited his vehicle, he put on his reflective vest, but he was not in the highway. How do I know all this? I can tell you at this point, once again, he did everything wrong. We know that by statements, videos, audio recordings, photograph, evidence of the scene, prior history of those involved parties, weather, vehicle data, body-worn cameras, and I can go on. He should have never been driving a motor vehicle in the state of South Carolina or anywhere. This man lost his life doing his job and doing it the way he was trained to do it. There ain't no if and buts about that. Again, I want to thank Ms. Jade for your patience, your attorneys, for your patience, your family, for your patience. We notified you on yesterday. You were the first one, Ms. Jade was the first one we notified about the charges. The second one we notified was the South Carolina Highway Patrol, and now you. So again, I want to thank, before I forget, I want to thank the state, the county of Orangeburg, the state of South Carolina, and people all over this country for their support and their prayers, because this was a difficult time for law enforcement everywhere, and people showed up, and we can continue to feel the prayers of citizens around this country. This is an ongoing investigation. I know this won't be a press conference if I don't take 1 or 2 questions, so I'll try to answer some questions if I can.
When's the bond hearing for the suspect?
Today at 2:30. That's easy.
Where would that be, Sheriff? Magistrate court, or will that be in general session?
No, that would be in magistrate court.
Okay. One question that I want to ask, and I'm not sure how you can get into this with the investigation, but just as it pertains to the box truck, do we know where that box truck was from, or was that personally owned one, or was it rented?
Yeah, well, I can tell you this. Like I said, this is an ongoing investigation, and we're still checking into it. It was a rented truck. He didn't rent it. He shouldn't have been driving it regardless, but it was a rented vehicle.
What's the maximum penalty for reckless homicide?
I think there's a fine and a penalty, 10 years, right, and the fine, I think, is like about $1,000 fine. You know, in the beginning, we charged him with driving under suspension, and then we look at the law for his not moving over. What I will tell you, and again, I won't get into too much, but I want to ease the minds of people because I eased my mind after this investigation. Trooper Ricks was off of the highway, completely off of the highway, never entered the highway. There's no question about that. There's just things that brought out in this report, and we reviewed every page. There's thousands of pages of information that Lexington put together, the investigators put together, and that's why I can stand here and say without a shadow of a doubt, he deserved to be charged.
And real quick, did Adelet stop at all to help?
He did stop. He did stop.
And
Right.
has he been arrested?
He, in fact, he never was released from jail from the first charge. He was still in jail on that, on the driving under suspension charge.
What jail would that be?
Right here, Orangeburg. Yes, ma'am.
Now, Sheriff, just on the topic of the truck, once more, I'm curious, how was he able to get access to that truck? I know you said.
Through a family member,
Okay.
right.
Um,
And that's something that we're still looking into, but
That's what I
through a
was
family
gonna-
member, right.
That's what I was going to ask about.
Mhm.
Are any penalties or is there going to be any consequences? at that
Well,
point?
this is an open case, so as long as this case is open, there's still room and for charges to be brought, so we're not ruling anything out.
He said he finally confessed. Was this story changing over time, after time after time, was it changing?
His story changed from the night of the incident until yesterday. His story changed, but we knew through all of these things that we saw, his story was just that, a story, because it never happened the way he described it, and I mean, we saw that. It's just that simple. We saw that, and he he knew that he shouldn't have been driving.
Is there any indication he was under the influence of anything?
At this point, there's no indication that that he was under the influence of any alcohol or anything. But he definitely shouldn't have been. He was definitely, I guess you would say, impaired. He shouldn't have been driving on the interstate. He shouldn't have been driving anywhere.
And do we know what speed he was going down this highway, if he was going over the speed limit at all?
He wasn't going over the speed limit. Again, not to get too much into the investigation, but right before the incident, I think he was probably traveling around approximately 67 miles per hour. Doing impact was probably 62 miles per hour.
Sorry if this was answered, but is this homicide a new charge?
Right. Yeah, this is the new charge that we just got the warrants on yesterday. And like I said, we didn't want to rush to anything. We wanted to get it right because, not only this family is affected, he's affected, and rightfully so at this point. But here again, I just ask you all and everybody to continue to pray for Miss Jada and her family, and we'll do the same thing. But here again, this investigation is definitely ongoing. Thank you all.
Thank you. Well, you just heard an update from Orangeburg County Sheriff Leroy Ravenell regarding the fatal collision that happened on August 10th involving Trooper Dennis Ricks, who was just 30 years old at the time. Now, we did receive some new information, but if you're just joining us, I want to let you know the background on this. So this happened on August 10th near the Bowman exit on I-26 around 2 o'clock in the morning. It was a routine traffic stop when he was hit by a box truck. Now, one of the new developments that we have learned from this press conference is the name of the person who was driving that box truck. He has been identified as Anthony Adelet. Now, one of the things the sheriff did was make it very clear that Trooper Ricks did everything he was supposed to do according to his job. He did everything right. Sheriff Ravenell also emphasizing that Anthony Aidlet did everything wrong. And he said the first thing that Aidlet did that was wrong was get into a vehicle and start driving. As we have learned over the course of the couple of days, we've learned that Aidlet actually had his license under suspension. So the sheriff says he shouldn't have been driving anywhere. Now, we also learned a little bit about his history when it comes to driving Aidlet. The sheriff saying in the past 10 years, he has had 7 suspensions, 6 accidents, 4 of which he caused, 2 other traffic violations, and more. Something else that we have learned from this news conference is that Aidlet will now be charged with reckless homicide. His bond hearing is going to take place in just a few hours at 2:30 this afternoon in Orangeburg County. Now, one of the big questions that the community has had is how or why did it take as long as it did to learn about this reckless homicide charge? Why did it take as long to hear about who the suspect in this case is? And the sheriff made it very clear. He said, simply put, I wanted to make sure that we did it right. And he says without a shadow of a doubt, he knows that they did everything right. He also gave a lot of props and appreciation to the Lexington County Sheriff's Office, who played a major role in this investigation. But he says, again, Ricks did everything right that night. There's no doubt in his mind that this is the correct charge for Anthony Aidlet. Now, one of the things that he pointed out is the fact that since the night or the early morning of that collision, up until yesterday, he said that Anthony's story was constantly changing, and it wasn't until yesterday that he finally admitted what really happened that evening. Now, joining them in that press conference, there was, as you saw, family of Trooper Ricks, who again was just 30 years old. You're taking a look at him and his bride, Jade, who really the community has done everything they can to wrap their arms around her as she is navigating this tragedy, this traumatic loss. She has been so open and sharing about how wonderful and kind that Trooper Ricks was. He was also a father as well. And so we saw over the course of the past couple of weeks since that collision happened on August 10th, he died a few days later at the hospital. We saw dozens of law enforcement officers, highway patrolmen, not just from our community, but from across the country coming to honor him. Trooper Ricks had been on the job for about 2 years as a highway patrolman, and all the dignitaries, all of the higher ups, so to say, within the highway patrol, within the Department of Transportation, took the time at his funeral to speak about how incredible of a trooper he was. He did his job to the T. They say he brought joy, and they truly, truly, truly lifted him up as an example of what they want all highway patrolmen to be as well. And so we've also seen community members come together as well to wrap their arms around the family and friends. They had his funeral service not too long ago at Shandon Baptist Church, and it was, as you can see, a packed out service. Again, so many people wanting to show up to pay their respects. One of the things that we also heard during the funeral is they're saying one of the best ways that we as a community, that law enforcement can remember Trooper Ricks is by living up to the standard that he set. Now, we will continue to follow this story as we have learned that this is an ongoing investigation. Sheriff Ravenell didn't want to say too much about any other potential charges that could be happening, but we do know for a fact that Anthony Aidlet has been charged with driving under suspension as well as reckless homicide, and his bond hearing will take place at 2:30 this afternoon. Of course, News 19 will continue to stay on top of this story and bring you the very latest. We have a team in Orangeburg County now. They'll be at that bond hearing, and we'll bring you those updates both on air and online at WLTX.com, and of course right here on WLTX Plus. For News 19, I'm Whitney Sullivan.